Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie-Hélène Nieb, and I invite you to come and have a seat to join a public forum of the 21st edition of the group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cell and Batteries. We're just about to wrap up the day, so it's the best part of the day. Please come have a seat. Drinks are in the house. We'll be discussing automation equipment for the fuel cell industry. Please help me welcome from Greenlight Innovation, the CEO, Mr. Ross Bailey. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
So if I was going to give you 30 seconds right here on the spot, who is Greenlight Innovation?
Can I have 40 seconds?
You can have 40.
Okay. Greenlight is a global leader in test equipment. So we manufacture test equipment for the fuel cell industry, for electrolyzers, for lithium-ion batteries, and for other energy storage devices such as vanadium redox. We also do automation equipment for manufacturing. We're based in Vancouver, Canada. We're about 40 people, and we've been around since the early 1990s.
So you basically covered the whole interview and right there. So what do I do next?
I guess I'm done.
Let me go back here. Like you mentioned battery test equipment. I remember when like 10 years ago, you were focusing on the fuel cell, but it seems over the years you've followed the industry. We've added batteries to our name, and so did you.
Correct. So, this really came about with the advent of the hybrid vehicle. And traditionally, our fuel cell test business was geared towards the automotive market because that's where a lot of the research was being done. And then with the movement to hybrids and electric vehicles, we felt a certain amount of customer pull into lithium-ion battery technology. So we developed a number of products geared towards the lithium-ion battery market, and not at the cell level, but more at the pack level. So our specialty is doing battery pack testing.
So I would say that in some ways your testing equipment is very value added or very custom based in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's customized. So most of our equipment is, well, pretty well all our equipment is customized. So there's an amount of engineering and design in each unit. We very seldom do two test systems that are identical. So they all have a degree of non-recurring engineering, and then they're custom manufactured in our shop. We don't keep a lot of inventory because of the high changeability in our product lines, so everything's ordered and built to order.
So from day to order to delivery on average, just so we have an idea, how long should we be looking for?
Yeah, so that'll depend on the size of the project, be it a small lab unit or a larger sort of automotive style, full automotive engine test rig. But it's going to be anywhere from 16 to 22 weeks, typically.
And I think a lot of time when we think about Greenlight Innovation, people think testing equipment, but I think we don't focus enough on the testing solutions. And that brings me to cells. You offer also testing cells. Can you expand on this? Like on the fuel cell, you offer cells for testing?
Gotcha. Sorry. I'm catching up. So to enable the selling of our test equipment, we developed a line of, we have fuel cells of different active area sizes. So we've got single cell hardware and stack hardware for 50 square centimeters, 25 square centimeters. We developed a 5 square centimeter cell. And then as well, we've recently added a 250 square centimeter cell. And with the idea that appeals to people who are doing automotive work or research in the automotive industry, and they want to replicate kind of the aspect ratio of an automotive stack. So we have a cell that size now.
So you felt that was missing in the industry, this solution or this product line?
Sure. There's lots of people that are doing research in membranes, in catalysts, in carbon, and they don't have their own hardware platform in which to conduct the testing. So they need to go out and source that from somebody. So by offering a kind of a complete line of test hardware, they're able to achieve their goals without having to go out and kind of develop their own cell. And then also, when you buy a fuel cell from a commercial company, say Ballard, for example, Ballard doesn't want you to open their stack up at the end of the test and analyze the MEA or dissect it or do any kind
of void your warranty at that point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a done deal. So this allows them to put in their own MEA, their own soft goods, and then they can do durability testing, and then they can actually analyze the membrane or the catalyst at the end of the testing.
So that brings me to a question, but before I do so, I want to remind everybody that this is a public forum. You're more than welcome to ask questions. Just raise your hand and I'll come down with a microphone at any time throughout the interview. And if for some reason you're too shy to ask questions, but you would like to talk to Mr. Bailey, I also invite you to visit his booth, which is right behind us. You can't miss it. It's right there. And then you were just mentioning here, okay, so now you offer cells for testing to a lot of people that you don't necessarily have their own stack or things like that. And to me, that responds to, you really seem, Greenlight Innovation seems to have really kept in line with the fuel cell industry needs and keeping their eyes open. And at that point, you just brought in another acquisition because you seem to think there's something going on there. Can you give us more information about this acquisition?
Sure. Great segue, by the way. So last year, we purchased an automation company, an organization called Commonwealth Automation, and their specialty was industrial automation geared towards manufacturing of fuel cells and batteries. So they were based in the region close to us in Canada, and they primarily focused their efforts on serving the market in the geographic area that we're in, which is the fuel cell cluster in Vancouver. So what we're able to do is take essentially the technology that they developed, the products that they developed, and take that out to our global customer base and offer that to our customers, who many are transitioning from R&D into production or pilot scale production. And they don't typically have the expertise, the manufacturing engineering required to develop their own manufacturing equipment. So we can come in and analyze their manufacturing processes and offering manufacturing solutions to improve their processes, lower their manufacturing costs, and help them ramp up to the capacity that they require.
So it seems like you, as a growth decision, maybe you're the CEO of the company, so you're definitely involved in this decision, rather than you've decided to broaden your product line because solution engineering application is a product. Why that decision? Why decide to grow in width rather than in organically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, being in the test market for fuel cells and some of the other products that we do, we're really still a niche company. There's not that much in the way of growth potential for just testing of fuel cells or electrolyzers because it's such a limited market. So what we wanted to do was leverage our core competencies in controls, in process engineering, and go out into adjacent markets and similar markets. And then this way, we're actually able to offer more value to our existing customer base.
So you really share the same, even though you're not offering the same service, you're still in the same market.
Correct.
Neck to neck.
Yeah, and we're knocking on the same doors, and the business models are identical. It's custom equipment, highly customized, high capital expenditure. So it was actually a really good fit for us.
So there's always a risk when a company acquire another that there would be a clash of visions. You move in new people in, and how can you give us a little bit of a run through of how it's going since the acquisition?
Sure. So the acquisition's actually gone very smoothly. So we've moved the other company into our facility, and we've taken their employees, integrated them with our own. We're still integrating the manufacturing process systems and bills of materials and accounting systems and all that. But in terms of the products and the processes, we've pretty much carried right through. We didn't really miss a beat. So it's been quite painless, surprisingly painless, as a matter of fact.
And so this is a new service, etc. But if we go back to the testing equipment, where do you see the future? Like you said, like if I think back 10 years ago here at the Messe, it was small booth with a lot of R&D people. And we look 10 years later and it's product, it's manufacturing, it's the next step of the industry. So where will testing equipment fit in the greater scheme of fuel cell and hydrogen?
Sure. So there's always going to be a lot of R&D test stations required. It's traditionally been our bread and butter, and a lot of our customers have been in R&D and are moving through the R&D phase. Now we're seeing people moving into validation, demonstration programs, low volume product runs. So the test requirements are changing. Testing needs to be shorter, needs to be faster, needs to be cheaper. The capital equipment costs need to go down, but in a production environment, equipment has to be reliable, so it has to be bulletproof. So, we're seeing people going into manufacturing, so we're doing manufacturing test equipment, so end-of-line production equipment. And then we're seeing the car companies are doing a lot more integration of the electric vehicles. So they're taking the hybrid concept. They're, instead of using an internal combustion engine, they're looking at fuel cells. So then you have an electric vehicle with a fuel cell, a battery, and we're seeing complete e-mobility labs. So,
and you will be supporting that?
Of course we will.
Do we have any question from the floor? But I still have questions.
Okay.
Don't worry, I won't let you hanging like this. Like I was saying earlier, you've been here since the beginning. I remember 10 years ago you were here, and so you've grown with the industry. You've seen the industry grow. As someone that's been and one of the nice things is you haven't been just embedded in one portion. You get to, because you have a various wide range of customer. Where do you see the industry in 5 years? Like, who's going to be leading in terms of technology within the fuel cell or hydrogen?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. And, I think if we take a step back and look at the industry, I think what's really changed in the last few years is that the car companies have really come back.
They kind of left us hanging for a few years.
They kind of left us hanging there for a few years. So, back in the late 90s and 2000s, the market was hyped quite a bit on the promise of fuel cells, and we've all heard fuel cells are always 5 years away. But it feels like we're getting there, and we've seen a lot more interest. I think they went down the road of the lithium-ion battery packs or the electric vehicles. They realized, there's range issues. There's, batteries are going to be applicable. They work for some types of vehicles, but maybe not all vehicles. So we're seeing the car companies going back to fuel cells, and I think, that's really driven the market. And it's going to drive the costs down. It's going to increase the volumes, and it's really developing the technology.
So you think it's more? We still need like cars, fuel cell cars, for this to fly in some ways? Because from my expertise anyway, from what I see, it seems that it's really the storage that seems to have made a difference in the last 3 years, and the other renewable energies that have created a need for fuel cells.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think the car companies, they're such experts at lowering manufacturing costs and developing the supply chain and maturing the supply chain, and that's really what the industry needs to be commercially viable. And who better to take the lead on that than a number of the major car companies that are doing the ride and drives outside here this week.
True, but at the same way, wouldn't you think that in the power sector, it's never cheap, and they never felt really a need to bring the cost down. Like, power is expensive, and in some ways, do we need to bring the automobile industry in first to bring the cost down, or can the energy sector in itself be our way in?
Yeah, I would challenge that. The energy sector is not going to do it on its own without subsidies. So, and to me, when I look at, any kind of program that's completely dependent on government subsidies, I'd say that's not really a sustainable solution. So it's a good bridge. It can help bring technologies in and do demonstration programs. But unless it's commercially viable, I just don't see it taking off. And I think driving the cost down at the automotive level is going to make it commercially viable. And if I can add, but there are some fuel cell applications that are commercially viable now, and those, I mean, they do have traction in the lift truck market, like we see over here with Mfield, Plug Power, another leader in the field, and then the backup telecom power. So backup power for telecom, another application where the telecoms are losing money when their towers are down, and there's places in the world that require that don't have the grid stability that we have in North America and in Europe. So that's a real economic argument right there, and that'll help, but it won't get you all the way.
You need the volume.
Correct.
In the end.
Yeah.
And just to wrap things up, because we're running out of time, I wanted to touch base one more time on more the automated system offering that now Greenlight has brought to your spectrum of products.
Sure.
So you were talking about testing right into the assembly line, so you can also help your current customers in automation now.
Yeah, correct. So, I can give you an example. If anyone wants to come over and see us in our booth, but on the poster on the wall there, we've got a robotic project that we recently shipped to an automotive company that's got basically a fully automated fuel cell line, and we put in a robot that was performing a function on a plate. And that process, you think, oh, robots is going to be expensive, but when you analyze the work cell, it's actually replacing a very manual operation that's error prone. So it's actually going to increase their quality, increase the repeatability of their process, and it's going to lower their cost. And the payback on it is in less than 2 years.
I'm in system integration, so I'm totally with you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Bailey, for your time. We're unfortunately running out of time, and thank you to you, the audience, for your attention. We hope to discuss more at your booth if they have more questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
And stay with us. We have more coming. We'll be discussing update on Hydrogenic latest product development right here with Hydrogenic's Business Development Manager. Stay with us. Thank you for your time.